Seen throwing a hand truck through the window of a bus, breaking the glass and injuring 2 passengers on board. A judge now setting his bail at $50,000. The 29-year-old fighter's net worth is estimated to be $34 million. That's as of last year. Let's take it up with attorney Emily Compagno. Good to see you, Emily. He was on a rocket ship ride to the top, and now could this be his undoing? They say he could get 7 years if he's convicted.
It might be, absolutely. Now, that felony charge of criminal mischief does carry with it a max sentence of 7 years. And note that Dana White, the head of the UFC, he said, look, we have a zero tolerance for this. He said this is the most disgusting thing the UFC has ever seen. And he is not standing by Conor McGregor at this point. Normally, as he said, I stand by my guys, but this is out of it. And he said, you know what, Conor, if you had a problem with Khabib, if you had a problem with this other UFC fighter, you take it up in the ring and you do it legally. For him to do all this, he said, this is just being a thug. But I will say that we've seen things from Conor McGregor before. He's been fined and he's been sued for injuries sustained because of his outburst and because of his flagrantly flying in the face of UFC rules. So a lot of people do feel, you know what, this isn't surprising.
You know, Emily, you make an important point that the UFC president is saying he has no interest in helping Conor McGregor with his legal troubles. Let's take a listen to that.
And obviously everybody's shaken up when 30 thugs storm these guys are all cutting weight and getting ready for a fight. This is the most disgusting thing that has ever happened in the history of the company. You can imagine he's going to be sued beyond belief, and this was a real bad career move for him.
So how much could he be sued for?
He could be sued. Note that the injuries sustained include a scratched cornea. So depending on the severity of that, he could be sued for full medical bills and any loss of reputation or pay stubs, right? These guys are UFC fighters and they fight for the title and they fight for compensation and for endorsements. So if there's any loss of that loss of income, he could certainly be on the hook for. I want to point out, too, that UFC has now made upwards of $800 million in revenue per year, and almost 50% of their revenue comes from purchasing content. That's the pay-per-view fights that they show. And the New York State Athletic Commission canceled 3 fights because of the injuries sustained by these fighters last night. So it's not just the individual fighters that are losing revenue here. It's actually the UFC as well.
Yeah, it's a great point you make. So, again, Conor McGregor is worth $34 million. Could they sue him for all of that?
They can certainly try, absolutely. And note, too, Dana White covered this in his press conference where he said, well, the MacLife guys let him in. Who let them in? Who let this storm of 30 people storm the building? He actually called for criminal prosecution of those guys as well. So I do have to say, as you watch the video, you can see now reports are saying, well, they tried to prevent them from coming in and as onlookers tried to hold them back. But there was certainly a lot of cheering going on, albeit maybe it was innocent bystanding, but there could be many people on the hook for what could have been preventable.
All right. You make some great points there, Emily. Good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.